circle together and just making space for ourselves and for each other. We'll spend this time together just connecting in with some tiny practices, and I'll turn it over to Nancy in just a few moments to lead us into our practice for today. And then we'll be coming into breakouts together. So we'll continue the conversation in a variety of different ways. And what I'd like to invite us into is just sharing in the chat. I see already some of us have been sharing where we're coming from. And sometimes we like to share the external weather, just to remember that sometimes our internal weather is kind of mirroring that. And sometimes our external weather is very different. So some of us may be in very cold places. Some people may be in very warm places. It looks like a lot of cold today. Um, yeah, it's let's see, we've got Philadelphia, Winchester, Massachusetts, Chicago, Manhattan, Felton, California. Send us some sunshine. It says, greetings from sunny Felton, California. Wonderful. Sacramento, Arlington, Massachusetts, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Really nice and cool. Can you tell I'm in New York where we're drenched in snow and freezing cold? Wonderful. Vermont, Florida, Waterloo, beautiful. So we are really coming in from all over, and we are just, as I said, trickling in and joining now. So wherever you may be coming from, a warm welcome, no matter how cold it is outside. And we are just going to begin with a little tiny practice. So if you can get your feet on the ground, that's often a way to just ground down. So just feeling a sense of the feet on the ground. And then if you'd like to, you can close your eyes or just lower your gaze, whichever's comfortable for you. And then take a deep breath and relax. Just noticing what happens for you. Even when I just say the word relax, does it feel easy? Is there anything in the way? Just noticing for a moment, not judging, not trying to change it. Letting each breath just bring you in further to being settled here. Just noticing the breath as it moves in and out. Perhaps it begins to also move up and down. Perhaps it also starts to go deeper into the body. So just feeling into that, what's available today. And noticing if there's anything that brought you here, anything that's coming up today. Our theme today with Nancy is living steady in an unsteady world. So just noticing if it was the particular theme or if it's just connecting with each other. All is welcome. And when you sense into that, just noticing if there's a word or a phrase that kind of captures that. And you can type that into the chat when you're ready to come back to the screen and come back to each other. Wonderful. It's also so lovely to see our faces today. So for those of you who can be on video, it's just a joy to actually connect with each other. So I'll turn it over to Nancy and just share with you for those of you who may not remember Nancy or may not have joined during her previous session. She's a longtime student of Eastern spirituality. She's a psychotherapist, an interfaith minister, and author of The Emotionally Exhausted Woman: Why You're Feeling Depleted and How to Get What You Need, as well as numerous other books. She's a thought leader and national speaker on women's empowerment, well-being, and mindful technology. She's been featured on Good Morning America, in the New York Times, and countless other media. She's a regular blogger for Psychology Today, and she's spent 25 years as a nationally top-ranked equestrian and serves as a performance consultant to professional artists and athletes. Nancy, it's so wonderful to have you here. We're so grateful to you for carrying us through this practice and for all the good work that you do. So I turn it over to you for our practice today and to move us into breakouts.
Well, hello. I'll tell you, I was just thinking one way to not be steady in an unsteady world is to get a Starbucks half an hour before you sit down in your chair. As I'm feeling my own heart racing, but that is self-induced. So I'll set that aside. Um, so Antoinette, you did a little grounding meditation. I will head right into content. As we know, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. We are living in wild times. A little bit different, it seems, from all the research groups I've run in terms of the feeling this time. Again, a feeling is just a feeling, but that it's somehow different, this chaos that's happening right now. Words used like axis of evil, like things are turning in a more permanent way. And there's also a deeper sense that things might not return to what we considered ground in the world, what our norm is. And how many just connect with that? I do, that sense of, I don't know if it is going back, right? But there's also a deep sense of being disempowered, which makes us very unsteady. We don't quite know how to get our voice heard anymore. And on top of that, of course, we are being asked to take in terms of, let's say, the political situation or the amount of cruelty in the world. We're being asked to take on cruelty at a global level, not just a local level, sort of to know and hold so many difficult things that we're out of outrage. We're so desensitized that there's a background wallpaper of anxiety. So that's sort of the resting state for many of us. And we do our practices and we get relaxed for a moment. And for many, it's happening, though, in a background of sort of shakiness. So what I'd love to do is if I could help you flip that so that the shakiness goes on within the larger context of well-being, of wellness, of silence, of calm. So in doing that, it's a huge topic, and I've spoken, as long as an hour and a half, 2 hours on this topic. To really boil it down, first of all, we want to look at the obvious, which is what are we ingesting in terms of if we are taking in a lot of anxious making material, right? That, is coming in through the news or however we're taking it in. We really need to be mindful about how we're choosing that. And that includes the people that we're surrounding ourselves with at this time, where from the planet to war to just shooting, whatever it is that's on the agenda is so overwhelming that we really have to be careful who we surround ourselves with and what we're actually eating in terms of the news and all of it. And it's okay to tell someone, hey, for me, it's not good to kind of keep rehashing what this person did or that person did. That doesn't serve me. I appreciate, your worry, and that's not good for me. Very okay to do that. We have a sort of strange background messaging going on, which is that it's somehow irresponsible to turn away from what's going on. We can do that in little ways, or we can say, no, I'm going to live my present moment right now as it is without continually reminding myself of everything else terrible going on in the world, right? That has been linked up with living in denial. It's what happened in Nazi Germany. It's what happened in so on, so on, so on. It's irresponsible. We can't get off the treadmill of outrage. So I'm here to really send you a different message, which is do it your way. Do this time in the world your way, that you don't owe staying in that, hyper state to anyone's righteousness or to anyone else's timeline when it's okay to drop off. So if you need to drop off for a weekend and know nothing, or you need to drop off altogether, or like most of us, we go on and off the sort of awareness of what's happening. But it's okay to take care of yourself first and foremost, which is also a message for women that's very, very tricky. I love it. There's a great quote from Jack Kornfield, which is that if your compassion does not include yourself, it's incomplete. And that is so true. We have to include a sense of compassion for what takes care of us at a time when there is a lot of difficulty. And it's not, again, I speak a lot on women's empowerment. We don't do that just because that allows us to take care of other people, right? Put your oxygen mask on just so that you can save the people near you. I'd like to put on my oxygen mask and to take care of myself because I also matter. So yes, that's important. Fill your bucket before you can fill others, but it's important because you matter and what takes care of you. The second thing that I want to offer you is joy. We focus a lot on, what are the toxins we're taking in and how can I eliminate some of those and be mindful of that. But is there enough joy in my life? What is joy for me? These are questions that in all of this chaos, surprisingly, we've taken off our plate. What wags your tail? What makes a day feel nourishing? And where can you add this? The thing is, we have this background narrative, which is if we're experiencing joy in the midst of so much suffering, then somehow that's not allowed. Either or thinking, black and white. But it's both and. Right? Suffering is immense everywhere we look. And can I stop and appreciate, wow, this morning I took a walk with a puppy, my puppy and my daughter, and I just stopped in the midst of the snow and the ice and thought, I want to be here. This is really lucky. Just the fact that I am is shocking to me every day. So stop, right, and appreciate this happens right alongside whether it's Brown University or whether it's Australia or whether it's whatever is on your plate at the moment, Rob Reiner, I don't know, but to stop and say both and are true. And we have this idea too, not just that we should feel guilty for being joyful when others are suffering, which is mad, but some other idea that everyone's reality should be the same. And so we continually invite the suffering, reminding ourselves of all the terrors, somehow to level the playing field. And the fact is we have different realities. And while we're holding here in the States, at least, a lot of horrible stuff and scary stuff, we also have great privileges here. And so to make space for that. Right. So I'm always curious. I'm sort of a social scientist, sociologist by nature. Why do we have so much trouble with joy, with honoring joy? And to even say that word at this time feels almost sacrilegious. But in part, it's very simple because of a survival mechanism. You all know the survival of the negative bias. We focus on what's terrifying and what's scary because that, in case the stick falls or millions of years ago in the forest, it's better to focus on the stick that might fall than the carrot we might get. The carrot is lovely, but if we miss the stick, we're going to die. So we focus on what is actually most terrifying and most negative, usually, because it's a sort of primitive survival mechanism. In that way, we won't be caught off guard. We won't be blindsided, right? We keep telling ourselves about all the horrors going on in our world, all the unsteadiness, so that we're prepared somehow. And at the same time, we just can't stand. One of the things as humans we are most adverse to is uncertainty. Right now, there's a lot of uncertainty. And so the human mind fills that in with the certainty of doom. It's somehow very strange, but it's more comfortable if we know it's going to be terrible. And the mind just is like a heat-seeking missile for what's wrong. So it keeps going back to these horrors going on, back and back and back, in some sort of effort, sadly, to protect us. And the truth is, though, a lot of our suffering comes not from what's happening in the outside world, but it comes through the story we're telling ourselves about it. What are we doing with the information? For many of us, we're writing this story of disaster. We're jumping way out into the future, into what this will mean. And we're not willing to say, this is happening now and I don't know. Paradoxically, when we can live in the question, I don't know what this will mean. My mind really wants to future trip on this and to turn it into a catastrophe of some sort. If I could just stay here in the present moment, and that's as much as I can know. It's not our strong suit to live in the questions. The answers have not yet been revealed to us. So much of people's suffering right now, from what I'm hearing in the field, is about the amount of ruminating and overthinking that's going into what's going on. How many suffer from that? The overthinking of it, or trying to sort of keep looping on what's happening. Does anybody resonate with that? Okay. Because yeah, most of us, we keep again chewing on what's happening in our world. And because I study the mind so much and teach mindfulness, I'm very conscious of the reality and then what are we doing with that reality? And they're often very, very, very different things. So what's the story we're telling ourselves about those facts? And then what are we doing inside our own mind, which is often during the night, looping and looping and looping. And again, with a compassionate attitude towards this monkey mind we have, we're doing that because we think that thinking is the solution to every problem. So we have a problem in our world right now. There's no question. We are living in times that are unfathomable that we cannot understand. We can't solve, and we cannot understand. So that for the mind is torturous. So the only solution we really know, and that we're taught from the time we are born, is, well, think about it. Think about what are solutions to it. The difficulty is that, I'm thinking of all the teachers or parents or whomever who say to us, come on, were you thinking? Think. It's the only thing we really know to do when things are not as we want them to be. So I'm here to really drive this point home that often it's the thinking about it constantly that is the problem, not the solution. So when you really take that into yourselves and recognize, what if more thinking about what's happening in the world is actually causing me to suffer more? Again, very counterintuitive, but it's a bit trying to find peace with the thinking mind is a bit like trying to open a lock with a banana. It's just the wrong tool. And if what we want is peace, more looping and thinking about what to do, how to fix this, only makes us more anxious, only makes us feel more helpless, and only causes us to suffer even more. So when you start to go down that rabbit hole of bringing in what's happening in the world, see if you can remind yourself that thinking there's no diamond at the bottom of that rubble. And again, it's so paradoxical, but it's in letting ourselves say, this is the way it is in our world right now. And I don't know. Just those three freeing words. I don't know right now how to make it different. It's really not a teaching that you get a lot, but it's not saying I'm okay with it. And it's not even agreeing to say I condone, this is okay if this goes on indefinitely. It's just saying that's true. So I've given up my fight with reality. That's all I'm doing. You fight with reality, reality wins every time. It's not even like blackjack. Blackjack, maybe 1 in 100 you'll win. This is every time. So we're just acknowledging this is our world right now. And the answers are not immediately clear. That's all I'm agreeing to. And something in us, when we surrender in that way of not being the one who can figure it out or solve it or make it different, something relaxed. And grace, there's something, I call it grace, rises up to create a deeper sense of well-being, which says, oh, okay, that's the truth. And so what we're really doing there is getting more okay with not okay. That's what we're learning how to do. We're living at a time where it feels really not okay. And we're saying, oh, okay, that's what it is. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to lead to that. It doesn't, all of that, setting aside my narratives about it that the mind wants to come up with. It's just saying, huh, and can I be well right here in the midst of that? Grace rises right up to catch us. And grace, you'll notice, if you do any of these practices, doesn't live in the head. Grace always lives below the neck. And so even just that simple act of taking a deep breath or dropping out of the head and into the body to a kind of interoceptive awareness of our own presence, immediately we have, that's the portal to that kind of velvety blue-black at the bottom of the ocean, that stillness, that quiet. It will not happen above the shoulders with more thinking and rumination and ideas, but it does. It's immediately accessible when we drop. I call that stop and drop. Stop the looping and drop. So remember that, right? The body, when we get anxious and we get unsteady, we tend to go up into the mind looking for solutions. I'm really encouraging you to go the other way. Drop out of the content of what you're anxious about. And this can be global, this can be personal, this can be anything. Move away from the thing that you're about to dive into and drop below and find that space that can be well, no matter what the content is going on, right? It's the bottom of the ocean, no matter how choppy the waves. So just a couple more things that I wanted to also point to, which is in this unsteady time, we talk a lot about disempowerment. A lot of people in my office bring that up, this helplessness. And what I would say, if I can offer you just a little bit of help there, it's we are always in charge of how we walk in the world. So we spend a lot of time talking about how other people are walking in the world and the insanity that maybe comes out of their mouth. I would say, let's make this paradigm shift, a way overused term these days, but how am I being? And it's so simple, it almost feels too simple to sort of take seriously. But what's my North Star? You know, what will matter to me when I'm saying goodbye to the people I love? Am I living from that? What a time to double down on that. So be the thing that it feels like is so missing from our world. Be that steadiness. For me, that's often kindness. Just be that kindness. And redefine, you know, what does helping in the world really mean? For some people, it's getting a bullhorn and getting out there in the rallies. Great. For some people, it's giving money to organizations. For some people, it's talking to other people about it. It doesn't matter. Whatever makes you feel, whatever fits your truth. There's no right way to be helpful in our world. And maybe for you, it's just, again, an act of kindness or just a smile. Silly though it sounds, our being the person that we respect ultimately is what empowers us. And so too, at this time and in all times to some degree, community is our gorilla glue, right? 1 minute, one of us is kind of off the slide there and feeling like, and we reach out. And then 3 days later, the person we reached to that brought us back is now the one there. We're each other's gorilla glue. Community. It is so important. And that's why Women Together is just profoundly important that we do this. Very simple and very, very necessary practice for human beings that no AI can do for us, which is come together. Doesn't matter if it's Zoom or if it's brick and mortar, just come together. This is a shared human experience. And wow, do we derive deep, deep nourishment and support and calm and steadiness from each other. I borrow it from you, you borrow it from me. But at the end of the day, we have to find through our own embodied practices a place that is well. And the unsteadiness and the chaos and whatever is happening, right, in the content of our life, we're watching all that unfold from a place that is steady. And we get there through often the body. I want to say that again, through body practices. The body never forgets that. But these small practices that I'm giving you today, these very sort of boots on the ground things, what am I ingesting? The people around me, the courage to live this kind of time my way, not the way I'm supposed to live it, to add joy, stop and appreciate, wow, look at this moment, right? Sometimes people will say to me, how are you? And I think to myself, right, how am I? In other words, how did this happen? The fact that there's experience at all is so awe-inspiring. But adding joy, stopping and noticing, watching the mind, what the mind is doing with the information it receives, the terrifying stories it's telling us. Stop there, come back to the present moment, offer ourselves the permission to not know. I don't know. Yes, it's not okay right now. I don't know. And let that be a refuge, taking control of what we can take control of, always our own participation in this world, and heavily relying, leaning into community, not isolating, shared experience. These are some real practical tools that we can play with, that really give us something to hold on to. Peace will not be found here. If you leave with one thing, leave with that image of a banana trying to open a lock. It's the wrong tool for peace. So I want to stop there because that's a lot of information, and just place a hand on your heart for a moment. Take a breath. And perhaps a moment of self-compassion. May I experience peace, peace in my world, and peace in the whole world. May I appreciate what I have, what is here. May I appreciate what is here. And finally, may I experience joy. Dare I say it, may I experience joy. And may all beings experience joy. Just feel into that, marinate in that. Wish yourselves that. Wish all beings that. And when you're ready, whenever that is, coming back to this space. So I suppose now is a time to go into breakout rooms. Is that right, Antoinette? Yeah.
Yes, Nancy, that's great.
And maybe one of the things just to think about is sort of put a big cruise ship buffet in front of you and see what in all that feels like it moves the dial for me. Where do I lean into where's that helpful for me? What do I want to take from that? And maybe what's one step, let's keep it really grounded, that I can do or add uh, going forward.
Beautiful. So this part of moving into breakouts is really the opportunity to connect with each other. So kind of widening the circle and developing our practice a little bit more. So we'll turn to each other in breakouts, remembering that we don't know what the other person had for breakfast, let alone what this may have brought up for them. So please enjoy the time together. We'll have about 15 minutes in breakouts so that we still have some time for Q&A with Nancy after. So enjoy the time together, and we'll be back in about 15 minutes.